her first con, I think, was probably, let me see.
3 or 4 years ago, I want to say.
No, it was 99 when she was born.
When she was a baby.
Brought her on
not fair.
stage when we were doing a Q&A and stuff like that. She was an amazing prop back then because you could bring a baby out and then people like who were ready to hate on your movie are like, that, and then like, oh, he's got a kid, good for him. Yeah, and suddenly she was a human shield in many ways.
Good to know my worth.
A lot of good things happening for all of you guys right now, including Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which the trailer has dropped, and it looks amazing.
Thank you. This is a good trailer, man. I can't even take credit. The movie's fun and stuff, but trailer cutting is an art form. And there's AV Squad cut it. And there's a kid who cut the trailer who I had run into, like didn't know months prior, like on Halloween, I would go to Veggie Grill all the time. He was there dressed with his friend like Jay and Silent Bob, and we took a picture, and it was on my Instagram. And then months later, when I went into the trailer cutting room, that dude was cutting the trailer, and I was like, "We have the perfect
this
trailer
is a man
cutter
born for this job."
Oh my God!
Talk to me about. Okay, here's my question. A couple questions. Is this a film for the hardcore View Askew fans? Is there any like need to like bring in new fans, or is this just for the devoted? Like you've come up with us all through the years, and this is for you.
I mean, marketing-wise, this is a movie for everybody, Josh. Yeah. But now that marketing's done, this is a movie for me. All movies are kind of masturbatory for the filmmaker, right? Like, especially if you're the writer-director. It all starts as like, I have this fantasy, I have this dream, I want to do this and stuff. So it's always kind of self-indulgent to some degree. This movie's incredibly self-indulgent. I think I'm in practically every frame of the movie. Even when Silent Bob's not in the movie, the character of Kevin Smith is in the movie. Right. So, like, I'm all throughout it. And I started writing the flick 2.5 years ago, and the one we made is close to the one that I started writing. But post Heart Attack, this movie just became like a family album, like a big old scrapbook, a nostalgia bomb. Like basically, hopefully not a bomb in any way, but if it isn't any bomb, with shape, form, of a bomb, a nostalgia bomb. It became this like, remember the last like 5 minutes of Big Fish, where Albert Finney's getting carried through his life and like seeing everybody who was ever important to him, and you're bawling in the audience. That's kind of what the movie is, but with a lot of dick jokes on top of it and stuff. So it's a real emotional movie. That's the weirdest thing about the flick. Like, hopefully, you expect some laughs because we're trying, right? We're trying to be a comedy, but like in the flick, it's oddly emotional. There's scenes where you get choked up, like really tough people get choked up. So you may cry in a Jay and Silent Bob movie, and not because you're like, they fucking dropped the ball, because it actually touches you in some way. These two have amazing chemistry. Like Jay plays Harley's dad in the movie. 'Cause that way it's a performance. If Harley played my kid in the movie, that's not acting.
Right.
But for her to play Jay's kid, that's acting.
What about in terms of bringing it into like 2019? Because like some humor plays in different eras, right? Like so, like Harley, are you keeping dead honest on this? Be like, okay, that might have worked 20 years ago, but what's appropriate for today?
For sure.
This.
I mean.
Yes, her generation very alarmist.
Well, this one is much more culturally respective and appropriate than the past ones, I think.
There's even like a lot of diversity in the trailer. Like,
yes.
It's even on that level.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, so I think it's more like I think it's more PC for sure, which is really important. So
he's off his edge, is what we're saying.
As dull as a spoon, man. That's why I was happy with the trailer. Like I know what the movie is, and the movie is edgy and soft at the same time. The trailer presents what everyone expects from a Jay and Silent Bob type movie. If we kind of went in there and showed them our heart right away, they'd be like, oh man. But all the jokes are there, but there's just meaning to it. Jay and Silent Bob, the first one, Strike Back, is absolutely fun. But once you're done watching it, you put it down and go on with your life. Yeah. Now, post-Heart Attack, I'm more interested in sticking with you. I like putting hooks in things, so you try to put it down, but it stays with you. I'm going for your heart. Like, I know how to make you laugh. After 25 years, I figured that part out. But now I'm oddly fascinated with, like, I want to touch you. I want you to walk away from the movie carrying something a little more. Like, especially this movie. That's a magic trick. If you can walk out of a Jay and Silent Bob picture and go, like, I can't believe I feel this way. Like, that's... I can't make money. I don't want to win Oscars and stuff. My challenges that I set for myself are things like that. Right. Like, I just want somebody to walk out of that movie going, like, I thought I knew what I was going to get, and they gave it to me, and then they gave me something way better. Well,
it feels like you made at least one person cry, because I even seeing the behind-the-scenes videos, this guy was pretty emotional. It was an emotional experience for you, man.
It was. Well, I think it was helped with her being there. I don't know if I could do it if it was another female casted. I don't think I would have been able to brought it, but I've known her since. So I don't know. It was awesome. Again, I didn't expect it, but I remember the first scene where I had to show something, like it just happened, and I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be.
I really tried to make you cry.
Yeah, that was her goal too. Yeah.
I'm like, come on.
And she's like, it might take some time, but it didn't take time. I was like, you're not gonna break me. Seriously though, it was great. It was, but again, it's just like I was just sitting here now spacing out because I'm like, how surreal it is that I'm sitting here. I mean, we've been him and I, but now. She's sitting. It's so crazy. She's sitting next to me and she's talking and stuff, and I'm just like listening. To her. I've had to listen to her dad forever. Now I'm listening. It's just
now we're
it's
both
pretty amazing.
listening to my dad.
It's like another damn generation. I gotta wait to listen to them stop.
Yeah. It's been
also, I mean, for those that have seen the trailer, it's no surprise that you've called in a lot of friends for this one. It's an amazing cast of familiar and some new faces. Chris Hemsworth. Part of the VSQ universe, amazing.
That was pretty awesome. That came from like I guess he liked the movies growing up, but he did an article or an interview in Vanity Fair when Ragnarok came out,
right?
Where he talked about listening to one of the podcasts I do, and he name checked me. And right then and there, I was just like, we have to reach out to Chris Hemsworth one day for something. He apparently knows my name, and when we did, he was game, man, and he was busy. He was in the middle of like. Endgame was just about to open,
right?
And he made like a couple hours time for us, but we only needed him for like 30 minutes. But we did. We got a great cast. The in Strike Back at the end, we do credits like cast faces, everybody cracking up and stuff. That's their single cards. We had I think 22 on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and going into Reboot, we shot Strike Back in Los Angeles, so it's easy to get famous people to come out. It's like, can you come downtown for a second? We shot Reboot in Louisiana. Lot tougher to get people like, hey, can you jump on a plane and come to us and stuff? Good news is we shot Reboot in Louisiana during Mardi Gras. So anytime you called somebody, you were like, can you come to Louisiana and shoot a cameo for us? They'd be like, during Mardi Gras? How long can I stay? So they were getting a free trip to Mardi Gras. So at the end of the day, even though we weren't shooting in Los Angeles, going into the movie, we were like, how many possible cameos can we get? Going out of the movie, 22 in the first one, 44
Crazy.
Cards at the end of this one.
Including, it's been a while, Damon and Affleck.
Yes.
And we've talked about in the past, like, where are you at with them? They've gone their different ways. Are you surprised, excited? Like, just give me a sense of like, were you worried that they wouldn't when you make that call, when you send that text, that they wouldn't actually respond?
Matt, I'd get a response like from Matt sooner or later. But Ben, I was really like. I hadn't reached out to Ben in years for that very reason. Like, it's one thing to think like, oh, I don't think my friend likes me anymore. It would be another thing to have that confirmed by reaching out and having your friend be like, I don't like you anymore. So it is better to like live in ignorance than have that.
But did you have any reason to think that? Like any legit reason?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm very candid, obviously, and I tell like a lot of stories and stuff. And back in the day, I told stories that weren't mine, that were his, which were amazing stories and stuff. But like he would be like, dude, at first it started like. Dude, don't do that, man. You're like that. I got in trouble for that. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, man. And then like later on, he would be like, you're just pathological. You don't realize what you're doing. He's going, you just have to just put out so much content that sometimes you say things. And I remember the conversation specifically because it stopped me dead. He said something about like, we were talking about something and he goes, don't say that in one of your Q&As. And I was like, I won't. And he goes, you will.
Wow.
And that was years ago. And that was still like when we were friends and whatnot.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
Still working
I'm
on it.
pretty
Still
sure
working.
all of my privacy has been infiltrated.
We're all work in progress. It's okay, buddy.
It's content, man. Like if you're in the house, we hang up signs in the house that say like, if you're here, you're content. That way.
There's always a disclaimer after you tell a
People
story,
know.
Harley. You're like, and don't use this.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I get that a lot. And that was for a long time. People were always like, and don't put this on your podcast. But he was, I really feared reaching out to him, and he would be like, no. And right then, we were involved in something kind of emotional, like bringing the old gang back together and stuff. So to have somebody, kind of shit in the punch bowl would have been bad. So I didn't even write him into the script.
Right.
There was no Holden or anything like that. So we went into production with a movie that didn't have the scene that Ben's in now. And midway through production, thanks to Kevin McCarthy, entertainment journalism, just like you, and you know him, he's such a sweet guy.
Yep.
He had asked Ben on a junket, like, hey, man, are you in the Reboot? Did they call you? And Ben was like, no, they haven't, and I'm available. And that moment, like, that left an opening. So everybody's like, reach out to him, reach out to him. And I was real terrified to reach out to him, like everybody is. Man, sometimes you lose contact with people, sometimes you have a fight with people and stuff like that. And time goes by, and so the more time goes by, the easier it is to just be like, it's all right. And then you sit there going, well, they should call, or I should call, you know. Finally, the moment happened where I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And he was insanely receptive. It was really beautiful. I like broke down crying. That don't mean anything. I cried, drop of a hat. But I asked him, you know, I was like, do you want to come out and play with us? And he was like, I would love to. What do you got? And we didn't have anything left. Like, we'd kind of, all of our little bit parts were gone. Right. So at one point I was like, well, we can, you know, we could somehow put you into the Blunt Cave scene and stuff, which would be a little on the nose. But then I slept on it overnight, and the next morning I was getting my hair and makeup done. And I texted him, I was like, hey man, do you want to play Holden? Like, I can make a little Chasing Amy sequel out of this. And he was like, I'd love to. So I wrote an 8-page scene, sent it to him. He was like, he said, I haven't done this much dialogue in the last 3 movies combined, because it was just like him carrying the scene and stuff. But this was my favorite part. He showed up, and this is a cat that's directed, and he's won Oscars at this point and whatnot. I hadn't worked with him in years. I didn't know which Ben we would get. I was just happy any Ben was coming. Right. Ben that got off the plane was the 1996 Ben Affleck. He knew every word of dialogue in the script. No, I'm not gonna cry. Don't say that.
He's gonna cry for sure.
Everybody get really quiet.
He's too emo.
I can't impart, like, that's shy of the dude coming up to be like, I love you and I've missed you. That's about the best thing you could have done.
Show of respect.
It wasn't even just respect. It was like, the last time we played, this is how we played. Yeah. And so, like, and I was like, oh, that's adorable. I don't do that anymore. Like, you can make up dialogue, you can ad lib, you can go off the page. And he did it like he did it in '96, like the way he was trained. It blew my mind.
It was
like, first rehearsal, we're blocking. Yeah. And it was me, him, and Jason, and Joey. You know, everybody's got sides in their hands and stuff. The little versions of the script. I even had sides, and I had no lines. It was silent pop. Ben didn't have sides in his hand. I was like, do you need sides? He goes, I think I got it. And we went through the first blocking, and he, like, knew every word. He literally could have done, he's got a 2-page monologue. Of an 8-page scene, 2 of it is like him just giving a monologue, right? So he could have went any different way with it. He could have paraphrased it. I remember when we shot Chasing Amy, when I was doing the Silent Bob monologue, whole movie I kept telling him, you got to do what's in the script. Then when it came to do it, I couldn't memorize it, so I just made it up on the spot. And the whole time off camera, he was looking at me like this. And when we cut, he was like, you ad-libbed the entire thing. And I was like, well, I'm the writer, so it don't count. So this time around, he was so incredibly on page with the monologue. He could have done it backwards. Right. I could have been like, jump in the middle and skip every third word, and he could have done it. It was incredibly moving.
You did that too.
Yeah, I did.
Well, you did. You were like, start here and stop. You know, and he did. It was pretty amazing.
And getting to play like again, like it just dialed our clocks back. Yeah. Like suddenly we were in the '90s again. The whole movie is a real like '90s nostalgia. A rocket, but like having him back for us personally was just like, this feels like we're in our 20s again. This is what we did when we were kids. We made pretend and rolled the camera on it and crossed our fingers, and here we are doing it in 2019.
You're the first one to make him cry all weekend, so yes.
Congrats.
I didn't break.
You
I wiped nothing.